My father was a dairy farmer, so we had a lot of cows at home. My mother was in healthcare, and I really loved it to see how they are building their own company from scratch, from nothing. This is that time I realized that I just want to have like a simple company, but do it in a different way.
You said you tried a number of things. What are some of those things that you've tried before?
The first thing I tried was to set up a consultancy firm. It failed due to the high investment and some risks. I decided to quit, and at the same time I was setting up.
Is this thing for everybody?
What I sometimes say, people say also you want to do it for the freedom, right? But I say I have a lot of freedom within my own prison. And nobody will give you the key to get out of your prison, to do something else and to come back. No, the business, that's your life.
How do you feel like you've changed since you became an entrepreneur?
I have not really changed, but I think...
Thijs, thanks a lot for making it, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, straight into it. What key events in your life do you believe have shaped you into the entrepreneur you are today?
So yes, I was born in a family with entrepreneurs, my father and my mother. I was also traveling a lot. My father was a dairy farmer, so we had a lot of cows at home. My mother was in healthcare, and I really loved it to see how they are building their own company from scratch, from nothing. While studying, I was also traveling a lot, and that time I realized that that to put yourself in different places, or difficult places maybe, that brings a lot of creativity, and also a lot of then you can create beautiful things. And I've tried a lot of things, I had a lot of ideas, and then I think also the power of when you want to create something is to keep it simple. So that's what I actually also did with my company. I just want to have like a simple company, but do it in a different way. And that is also what my parents told me. When you do something, make sure you do it with passion and also with a lot of quality. So my father was making ice cream at some point, and it was only about eating ice cream, and it must be very good quality. And that's also always kept into my state in my mind. And I think that's also how I get what I'm doing now.
Yeah. You said you tried a number of things. What are some of those things that you've tried before?
Yeah, I was also trying to set up. The first thing I tried was to set up a consultancy firm. Actually, a little bit what you do now with Berg as well. It is that I was the idea was to mobilize talented students and to bring them together and solving problems for companies. Really? With creative things. That was the first thing I tried with 3 other friends. The problem was that I was the only real entrepreneur of the 4, I think. So it's very early stage, we stopped. But it was a great idea. I also noticed that I was not really a consultant myself. I really love to build something. So the second thing is when I was traveling to Zimbabwe for my for my second internship. And then I was doing a research for some large farmers, how to become more profitable. And then one of the ideas I had, they didn't want to do themselves. I was thinking, okay, let me do it then. It was just setting up a white button mushroom farm. It failed due to the high investment and some risks it was involved with. So I decided to quit. And at the same time, I was setting up the company I have now. Before, I was also thinking to do something more in art. Also with my family, we did a lot in artworks. So more like in trade. I also found out I'm not really a trader in that sense. I'm really more like a producer. So, and I think that is also why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
And what exactly you're doing today? Before we go there, what led you, let's say, to come to Rwanda?
So I studied first. I studied business administration, and then I found out. I was not really a business guy in that sense, working for a company. And then I was studying development studies because everything what I was doing, also with the business mind, I was thinking what I want to do must make some impact, and preferably a lot of impact. So I studied economics in Wageningen University in the Netherlands, and then I was supposed to go to Ethiopia. But the moment I was going there, it was a bit dangerous for me to really go to the rural areas to do my research. And I could do almost the same in Rwanda. And then with potatoes. So then I was thinking, great. But to be very honest, I really had to read everything about, some information about Rwanda because I didn't really know the country. But what I noticed here, when I was here doing my research, I noticed it is something different than other African countries I've been. So that was really giving me a lot of inspiration. And I was thinking, okay, what can I actually do here? And yeah, I was doing research in potatoes. So I was like, okay, let me first think what I can do in the potato sector. And luckily, because I got more support than I thought I would get for my research, I was actually finished already after 6 weeks for collecting my data. So, and I was planned to be here for 3 months, so I could also work on my business plan. I also designed something else. There was a farmer business school. I was doing the same, so I was trying to find out how we can help farmers in rural areas to more professionalize their business. But then I decided to not develop the farmer business school, but I decided to what I'm doing today.
Yep. And while you were in Rwanda, what are some of the challenges that you realized were present in the potato business, or let's say in the agricultural business in general?
Yeah, so for when you want to develop a value chain, so I'm a value chain expert actually, so you need to make sure that you know exactly what happens at every stage. And that was lacking. And especially in the potato sectors, it's very technical, but you have a lot of generations that you need to need to grow, and then before you can actually eat it in the market. So there are like 3 years before you actually eat a potato. And when you want to make sure that your yields are good, that the farmer can actually make money, you need to make sure that you treat your soils well, that you know how to do good agricultural practices, that you do proper storage, but that you also, and that is the most important thing actually, that you control your data. So where did you buy potatoes from, your seeds, and how do you sell it again, and to which farmer you are selling it, and to which one they are selling it again. So actually to formalize the value chain. And I was thinking, when I produce a beautiful product, then I can demand or push the chain to actually do this. So that is how I created. That's the reason actually why I created my business. So to formalize the whole value chain. Yeah. And actually, this year we are after 8 years, we are now successful in it.
Yeah. And what exactly are you guys doing?
So what we do, we make the best crisps in the world, potato crisps called Winners. So grown from the Rwandan soils with Rwandan varieties, potatoes. And what we do, we have our factory is based in the north, just on the foot of the volcanoes, the volcano park. So we are close to the Gahinga and the Muhabura, and that's the potato area, and that's where we produce. That's where we source our potatoes, but also produce our crisps. And our crisps we are selling now in whole East Africa, so Congo, Burundi, Uganda, and also Kenya soon. And what we built is our brand Winners. So you spell it WINNAZ, but it comes from winners. Yeah. So the idea behind it is that, and that is also why we started the business, is to create winners. So winners in the potato value chain. What we do, we employ a lot of youth. Most of them, they come straight from university. And we also want that we are, of course, the winning brand of Africa. So we really want to become the #1 snack brand. Yeah. And I think we are doing very well. That is what I'm doing.
And when you say we're doing very well, what do you mean exactly?
Now, what I mean is, first of all, that why I started the business, the reason why I started, in this we are very successful. So we really understand actually how to formalize the value chain. Of course, we only buy literally 0.2% of the potatoes grown in Rwanda, but what we do has a huge impact on the rest of the potatoes, because we are the first one that addresses the needs and how you can overcome those challenges. And second, we have a very successful team. I'm very proud on my team. We have over 60 people working for our company. So from peeling the potatoes, okay, most of it is of course with machinery, so it's automated, up to selling it in the supermarket. So we have a very strong team. that makes me also very proud, and that's I think also why we are very successful, and that we are available in more than 2,000 supermarkets. Yeah. And now it's time to grow.
Yeah, I mean it's quite some numbers. I mean 2,000 supermarkets. It's already amazing.
And actually, what's nice, we are sourcing from 2,000 farmers, and we supply 2,000 supermarkets. So that's just coincidence, but
that's pretty cool. Yeah. For your chips or crisps, who are you targeting? Who's the customer?
So we started targeting a little bit the early birds, so to say. So like the cool people in Rwanda. So we were mostly available for events, but now we're actually targeting everyone. But to be honest, 2% of the Rwandan population can buy our crisps now on a weekly basis. That's what we see. And actually 0.2 is really doing it on a weekly basis. So it's a small group. It's the growing working class mostly, of course. We see it really growing very rapidly. We can also see it in our sales. We are growing at 38% on average. And that is mostly also within this 2%. So, but of course we want to be a brand for everyone. But we are unfortunately not yet able to be a brand for everyone. But that takes time.
Yeah. You just mentioned that you're already in a couple of countries in East Africa, right? And when you look at building a B2C company, so selling directly to consumers, what do you see as the main difference between building a B2C company in Rwanda as opposed to other markets in East Africa?
Yeah, every country is a country on its own. So Rwanda, you can't compare Rwanda with Uganda. You can't compare with Congo and all the other ways. So you really need to work with partners. Yeah. In Rwanda, we do everything ourselves. Almost everything we do in-house, from buying potatoes to finance, marketing, everything. But when we go to other countries, you need to find partners who understand the sector. So that's where we have partners in all those countries. Which is key because you can't do everything yourself. In the beginning, we did everything ourselves. We had our own team in Congo, our own team in Uganda. But you need to work with other people, especially on the commercial side. Because it's very simple. In Rwanda, they don't want a lot of salt in our crisps, but in Uganda, they want to have almost twice as much. So you even need to understand that how they like our crisps. So also with, for example, how we season our crisps. Yes, even the color of the crisps, they're different. So you need to really understand, that takes a lot of time to really understand your market.
Yeah. I'm very interested in the B2C market, right? Because, I mean, especially building a company in that sector. So for example, one thing that just came to mind is how do you collect those feedback, right? So for example, you have 2,000 supermarkets. Do you have some kind of suggestion box at the end after you buy the product? Because I feel like I'm always, wondering if I have a product in my supermarket and people buy it. Sometimes I will never know if they will come back and buy it again. Like, how do I collect those metrics? And maybe how do you do it? How do you do that as a company?
Yeah, so 2,000 supermarkets and 120,000 consumers, and we know we are selling millions of potato crisp bags a year. So indeed, that's a very difficult thing. So, and that is, I think, also what we are now changing. We really are pushing more for data collection. And that is simply by doing. You just need to go to the supermarket. You need to ask the consumers. You need to ask the people working in the shelves. You also need to talk to the supermarket owners. So this is just, you just need to talk. You just need to take the data from your clients. And because we are based in Rwanda, we are a Rwandan company. In Rwanda, that is not so difficult because we have a huge team. But indeed, for export, it's more complicated to get the right data because we are not there every day. Yeah. So we also need to trust the feedback we get from our customers or from our distributors in the other countries, and I try to visit as much as possible. But again, I'm not the one who is going to ask 120,000 consumers how they like our crisps. So yeah. Also, my co-founder is always saying, you only know the real feedback when you have asked at least 100 people the same question, and then from there you can start making decisions whether you do a good job or not. And that's very complicated because it's not easy to get this 100 respondents. Exactly. So it takes time. But it is also about collecting feedback. But people also want to be nice. Everyone always tells me, Thijs, you really have the best crisps. And then I'm very happy. But then I always think, okay, really? Do you want to be nice? Or why? Yeah, will you buy them again next week? Indeed. And, but that's what I see. So I'm also with my friends. I'm also the mafia. They always say we always need to be sure when you visit our house that we have some bags of crisps in our house. Otherwise, I will be angry. So of course, everyone knows that they need winners in the homes. But of course. But you cannot. I'm not checking all the homes, of course. So. But of course, you need to be honest. You need to be open. You need to try to push for the real feedback, and that's different.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the main difference between founders or entrepreneurs who sell to other businesses and founders who sell directly to consumers. You kind of almost have to be obsessed about your customers, and you have so many customers of different demographics, coming from different backgrounds, so many different countries, different cultures, different spending habits. And you almost have to understand how to cater to everybody at the same time, because once you release one bag of chips, everybody has to buy it, or kind of like you're targeting everybody to buy it, but everybody has different tastes and stuff like that. As opposed to when you're selling to other businesses, you just target the person in the company. They have a pain. You show them how exactly your service or product can solve that pain, and it's a very direct. And they will always come back. They will just sign up once, and they will always. They don't want to go back through that. Interesting. Looking at the spending habits, right? Your product, as you mentioned, only let's say 2% can afford that kind of product. So I wanted to understand exactly on a weekly basis, right? And in these other markets, are you seeing that people have a lot more spending power in different markets in East Africa? Because it's also something that I've always been wondering about building in Rwanda. Is that there's not a big middle class, right? So when you're trying to sell a product that is not a daily essential, it can be quite difficult as opposed to the market.
Yeah, of course. First of all, we shouldn't focus too much on this 2% at all, because we are building a brand, we are building a strong company. So we are also we also want to be here for the next 100 years. And of course, we believe that the 2% will become hopefully 98% at some point. But then you need to think, okay, how can I run my business on this 2%? But to answer your question, yes, indeed. The 2% is actually everywhere the same, except from Kenya, because there you see that the GDP is double, and most of the purchase power, what you see is in Nairobi. So that's easy to target, but they also have a lot more competition because all the big brands are there. So also somehow this is also the perfect sandbox to create your brand and to really find out what is the perfect, how can you really get to the right quality.
Yeah.
And 2% is actually a lot. Sometimes I also ask people, what do you think, do you like more? Do you want to have a company to focus on the 98% or the 2%? Many people, especially people who are not yet doing a business, they think that 98% is more interesting. But it's not always more interesting, because then you have to play more with your margins. Then you need a huge organization. You have to manage a lot of people. And it doesn't really necessarily will give you better profits. Okay, probably yes. But it is a different way. So I think it's not necessary to focus on the 2%. Also, again, when my family was with ice cream, so I said also to my dad, that you're only selling in this region. He said, but when I can sell to 1% of the Dutch population, it is immense. It's huge. So actually, 2% is not a small number. It's a lot. If you can make sure that they buy every day our crisps, then I don't really mind for 98%. But I want to build a brand. So I also want that other people can also buy my product. So not so much about getting my income or getting profit, but also to build our brand and to build a company. And therefore, we also have an R&D department. So how can we actually make a more affordable product, which actually should be almost half the price of ours? And that is not easy, because if you want to have a quality product, so if you want to have all the certificate to be certified, in Rwanda it's with RSB, with the FDA, then it comes with a cost, because you need to do everything. Food safe is most important. also we don't want to use cheap ingredients, because we really use very good and high quality ingredients. So if you want to, that's also part of your brand, because you also want people to know winners means good ingredients.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to have a cheaper product, more affordable, you don't want to bring down your brand quality. So that is you always need to think about. So that is not easy, but it's also a matter of waiting, being patient, because you cannot do everything yourself. It's also a matter of waiting how this whole East Africa community is developing, and now also with the new trade agreements. So we also need to be patient. And for me, I have 60 happy people in my company. I am happy. We are growing our brand. So every year, if I can maintain the 38% growth, maybe it's not always what the investors want to hear, but actually we are growing a brand. And I'm sure if I can maintain this for the next 10 years, then I think I make the right decision to be patient.
Yeah, true. You spoke a little bit about competition, right? How does that look like? And how were you looking at differentiating yourself, right? I think, you are competing with all these big brands or all these big supermarkets, big marketing budgets. What's your creative strategy to make us not eat those snacks and eat winners?
Yeah, or you need competition.
Yeah.
First of all, without competition, we don't have a brand, because then also my brand value will be less.
Yeah.
And also my whole company, people will not eat a lot of crisps. And of course, the 2% is not only for me. I need to share it, of course, with my competition. So it's not that the 2% is buying every week my crisps. But it's good. It keeps you sharp. It keeps you creative. I think that I think you need it to develop and grow your business. And what we want to do is that we really want to be a pure product with high quality, and try to do as much as possible produced here in Rwanda. And what we also want to know, what also the question you ask about the market, we really want, we have to try to understand the market better than anyone else. And this way, I think we believe we can become the winning brand of the region. So that is actually how I am doing it. But always focus on quality. Always try to be the best.
Yeah.
And I'm not so much on price focus. I'm more on quality focus. I'm also more a producer guy, not really a marketing commercial guy, to be honest. That's also what sometimes my partners tell me, Thijs, you should do that a bit more.
Yeah.
But I believe when you really try to push yourself to be the best in quality, but also in your service, then you can become the winning brand, I think.
Yeah. What's your, you spoke a little bit about fundraising as well, or investors. What's your philosophy on raising investment, outside investment, as a founder for the last 8 years? What has been your philosophy, right? Because we see some founders are saying, no, I want to grow organically. I want to grow slowly. I want my profits to be the ones to drive growth, so my customers become my investors. Or others say, okay, there's a lot of competition here. We need to, we double down our production and marketing. So we have to raise external investment. What has been your philosophy? How has it grown over the years? And have you raised any external investment?
Yeah, I prefer to grow as much as possible organically. I also do not really choose, especially in the first stage of the growth of my business, to work with investment companies, investment funds. But I worked a lot with investment angels. It's necessary because in the beginning, actually, the entrepreneur, I believe, is more important than the business. So the numbers are less important actually than the vision and the model of your business. So therefore, usually it's better to work with angels. Otherwise, you lose a lot of your shares. Yeah. And what I try to do is to maintain the majority in my business. I also know that people say the majority is not important, but for me, it's important. Because I have the feeling, to be honest, I didn't give me not a lot of salary the last since the start of the business. So for me, the motivation is really I want to be in control because I want to create value for my business because that's my salary at some point. And
as my income. So I try to be involved myself the most. But also for me, it was very important to become profitable, to reach a break-even point. And from that point, I'm very careful. I'm not really a risk taker, to be honest. So, and therefore, I really want to really fully understand my business before I take the big steps for more investments. But of course, it's all part of your growth vision. I can choose to diversify in Rwanda, to have more like local selects for here, but I can also do more exports, or I can do a combination, or I can invest in more lines. But to be honest, I think what I could have done better is to invest more in my company. I think I should have invested more than I did, because then I would have grown much more, and I could also have developed more products.
You still can.
I can still do, and I will do that as well. That's also what I do. That's also my how I spend my time now, is that like 6 months, or approximately 6 months a year, I'm part of operations, and 6 months I spend on my strategy in a year. Yeah, so 50-50 I do. So now I'm really focusing on how can I build stronger business models, and how can I also introduce more products. So I hope also soon you will see more products on the market, more diversification, and more salty snacks. At the same time, we also have a small line of fresh produce. So we also try to sell just potatoes and vegetables. That's also what we do to the big wholesalers in Kigali. So, but people don't know that about us, but that's also what we do. Yeah, so we do the diversification, and therefore you need actually more investments, because it's all about cash flow for me, especially with a production company. We have very long cash flow lines. We need to import a lot of our packaging, and some of our seasonings and oil and that kind of things from neighboring countries. You need to import trucks, and then before you've sold it can take like 6 months or 3 months, and then you need to wait for the money. So this cash flow, when I would have invested more on my cash flow financing, I think I would have be able to grow faster, and even organically. But it's just about financing your cash flow.
Yeah, sure. Do you believe that you found your calling? Because if you say, I want to retain majority of shares in my company, and I want to grow organically, somebody listening could be like, okay, that's probably going to take 10, 15, 20 years before you can get that salary that you're talking about. So which brings to that question, have you found your calling with this? Is this what you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I am honestly not a crisps lover at all. I love my crisps. I eat it as well a lot, of course. To set up a production company, yes, that's for sure. That is it. And I'm sure that is also where my passion is, from farmer to consumer, to do everything that I'm able to source potatoes from farmers in the morning and sell the crisps in the same day to the consumer. That is just in a beautiful product. That is just what I really like and what I really love to do. So for sure, then I can say it's my calling. But yeah, I will see. I mean, I see a lot more opportunities. So it's not that it will be my last adventure, but hopefully Winners will be for a long time my business. But for sure, I will step out of the operations every day. I do that more, and I want to have as much as possible. Yeah, I think it would not be good for the company when all the responsibilities are only with me. So I need to share my responsibilities, and I think that's also good for the company. More creativity, more different skill sets, knowledge. I want to step out, that's for sure. But I don't want to step out completely. I still want to keep it and maybe build other companies next to Winners or next to Hollanda Fairfoods, or yeah.
Do you feel like passion plays a big role in the success of a company or of an entrepreneur, let's say?
Passion is key. I mean, because if you do it for the money, then you can better get a salary somewhere. That's always better. Okay, there are some lucky ones, probably also being part of your other episodes, but there are some lucky people, of course, that can quickly get good money, but you need to like it. Money is always a result, and when you only think about the results, you will not be happy. You need to enjoy the process.
And that is where my passion lies. I like to do all these different things. When I have the opportunity to talk to a minister here, or to talk to the CEO of a supermarket, or with the farmers, that chaos, you need to love it. You need to energize yourself, and that is where my passion lays. So that is what I really like.
Is this thing for everybody?
No, for sure not. I mean, I think that many people will not be able to do this. Because you always, I was saying you need to enjoy today, but you also need to think about what you do next year and 6 months or 2 years later, because that also gives you more, that makes you to enjoy the moment. And I think for many people, that is not possible. So I'm very optimistic. I'm always positive. I always believe that when we have a challenge, we can overcome the challenge, and tomorrow will be a better day. But you need to be like that. And you need to be a little bit naive as well. You need to be the stupid guy who is actually doing this, and just to see what happens. And I think most of people are too smart to become an entrepreneur. So that's because that's also what you notice. Sometimes you hire people in your company who get a better salary than yourself. And then you think, okay, who is the smart ass now? Is it me, or is it the one who is working for me? Yeah. But when you are really a specialist, when you really want to do one thing and you want to be the best in that single thing, then it does not always be good maybe to be an entrepreneur. Because yes, the first year I was producing crisps myself. Together with my team, I was controlling the fry, I was in the packaging line, I was doing it. And then the following year, I realized, I need to do more on sales. So I was going to the supermarkets. And then I noticed that my finance was a problem. So I had to focus more. So you need to be able to do everything. And I think that's not for everyone. And also what people need to realize is that to be an entrepreneur is not always fun. You also need to do the boring stuff. So you need to solve the problems. And sometimes you think, am I building a company, or am I solving problems? So that is also, and probably it's the same. So that is also what you need to realize, that you need to like it, I think.
What would you say? Who should be an entrepreneur then? Okay, so you just mentioned a few traits, but then in what scenario should you pursue that entrepreneur journey, right? For example, there might be somebody who's listening here and they're university student, or they're about to graduate, and they're like, yep, I've seen Yusuf, I've seen Thijs, I love their companies, I want to become like them, and they're entrepreneurs, I want to do the same thing. So let me go and try to take a stab at this. I don't know how I'm going to find the capital. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't come from a wealthy family. I don't have any rich friends, but I will start trying to do something. That person, should they become an entrepreneur? Or like, what would you do with that case study there?
That's a very good one, because I also studied entrepreneurship when I was doing my master's. One very important part was entrepreneurship. And most of the entrepreneurs, they actually start out of necessity, simply because they don't have all those things. Most of the farmers, they don't want to farm. They just have to farm, because that's the only way how they can get an income. Are they also entrepreneurs? I think they are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So for me, I have been also a bit lucky. So you always need to think about. I sometimes think, whoa, I'm lucky again. How is it possible that I'm lucky? So you need to be lucky. Of course, you need to have that. You need to find the right person at the right moment. You need to be able to ask people the question, can you actually help me? And then you always need to find a balanced relationship. So you need to be able you need to really be convinced about actually what you are doing. You really need to believe when people will partner with me, then I can build this company. Because when you're not convinced in doing that, then you should never become an entrepreneur. So that's why I say you need to be a bit naive. You really need to go full for it, and then you need to find the right partners. And also what I've learned is that the real entrepreneur knows his weaknesses. So when you really understand your weaknesses and you're able to bring those people on board who can support you in that. For example, I am very chaotic, I'm not structured. So I need people who are able to plan me, but also I need people who are challenging myself. So if you are open to this, then you can become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But there is not a recipe for this. Because how you do your business, how you build it is completely different from me. And I think that is also
but it is very interesting because a lot of universities these days or schools, they try to educate people what's entrepreneurship. But the teacher probably is not an entrepreneur, right? So you cannot really learn entrepreneurship. You can only learn it by doing. And always be open-minded and try to always look to your competition, but don't get jealous or don't get aggressive or how can I do that? But just be open. And when you have that capacity, when you also know that you are a social person, you are introvert, but you're also extrovert. That's what I am actually. A bit of both. So when you have those capacity, when you're able to connect people, that's also actually a talent that you have. So I think I think these are some of the key what you need to see. So you really need to look into the mirror, and are you able to make from an idea a business? And are you willing to do it yourself? That's also a big question. Do you actually want to go through all those problems to get and to have all, and that's only possible when you really always have the end in mind. And if you're able to continue seeing the end, and if you're able to understand the challenges and you're willing to go through it yourself, then you may be the right person to become an entrepreneur. Because everyone has challenges.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with you. I think the quote that I read about regarding this topic that has always been very interesting to me is that a lot of people want to become entrepreneurs because they don't want to work 9 to 5, and then they end up working 5 to 9 or something like that. So from 5 a.m. up to 9 p.m. every day. So that's really the reality of entrepreneurship, right? And I think we romanticize a lot. Everybody should become an entrepreneur. Everybody. And really, I mean, if you can get a job that can pay your bills, you can become super successful. The CEOs of huge banks, they have a really great salary and they're making great impact. They're really powerful. And that's a great career, to be honest, right? But then everybody's like, nope, I also want to be on the magazines. I want to be on Forbes and all these things.
I don't even want that, by the way. But what I sometimes say, people say also you want to do it for the freedom, right? But I say I have a lot of freedom within my own prison because I cannot get out of that thing. So I can do everything what I want, but I cannot get out. So and nobody will give you the key to get out of your prison to do something else and to come back. No, the business, that's your life.
Exactly.
You can't do anything else.
Everybody becomes your boss. If you're running away from a boss, everybody becomes your boss. Customers, employees, they're your boss. Your employee, if they text you and say the factory is on fire, you have to drop everything you're doing and go and do it. If they're facing a challenge, you have to do it. So I think...
and also the employees, they don't work for you. You work for your employees. So that is also what you need to understand.
Yeah, that's crazy. What do you feel like? How do you feel like you've changed since you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I have not really changed, but I think I'm a little bit less naive. Sometimes you come into the moments that you start to lose trust in people, but I'm always happy that I didn't do that. I'm always positive. I always try to continue to trust everyone I'm working with. But I am a little bit more careful. So I started when I was 26, developing the idea. Then now I'm 36. I still feel like 26, but people say me that I'm not anymore, so I have to take that as a fact. But no, but I think that I realize mostly it's difficult. It's a difficult question because how can I say that? What I think, what I've learned from in the last 9 years that I've developing my business is that mostly you also need to take it easy, and that is what I've learned a lot, and that's also how I change. Sometimes I'm just sitting in the morning, taking my morning coffee, and I'm just staring. I'm just looking to the hills of Kigali, not thinking about my business, but usually that's very difficult. And then I start. So I try to be not anymore to start immediately when I wake up. Just first take it easy, and then I start. And also take more and also to respect your private time a bit more, to your social life and that kind of things. So I work slightly less than when I started the business, I think. yeah. So, but in general, I'm still very energetic. I think I still want to set up more businesses. That's still the same person, so I still want to do that. I only will not go anymore. Immediately go deep in it without having a better plan. So I would plan everything much better. I would actually ask for more money when I would set up my second business. I would definitely not want to invest everything myself. I immediately will ask other team members to also invest. So that's my biggest mistake in the beginning, that I was trying to invest everything myself. So I would share more responsibilities. That's also what I have learned. So it's important that you don't want to do everything yourself.
Yeah, give other people ownership of their own part of the business. Makes sense. What would you be doing if you were not building this company? So you said you also have a lot of ideas. Let's say an idea that is definitely out of the sector that you're in. If you were to take another sector, what would that be?
That's a very good question, but I think that what I would be doing, then it will still be, I think, in agro-food. It will be more, I think, with agriculture than with food, I think.
Why a deep passion for agriculture?
I see that always that, especially in Africa, the people are training those farmers and they are trying to help them. And they are seen too much as the weak people that need support. But actually, I always say every farmer is actually a kind of professor. They really know what they have to do with the field. We need to respect them more. So we need to try to improve, to add value to, and not tell them every time what they do wrong, what they cannot do, but especially to focus what they can do. And they can do a lot. I mean, they are farming for hundreds of years. Before you were, so they can do. Farming is like not a new thing. It's something simple. So we just need to mobilize them to help them to connect and to find markets and to be able to get access to finance. It's actually insane with all the digital solutions we have these days. A lot of financial solutions. We are still not able to give affordable loans to farmers. And and then people always say it's the farmers who are the problem. No, it's actually the solutions that are the problem, because they didn't find yet a good solution to actually able to really let the farmers grow their business, because the interest rates are too high and this kind of thing. So that is where my passion is. How can we really make sure that this system is working in a profitable way for those farmers? But at the other hand, food is still a thing. I love industries. I like to make something. I like to make a beautiful product. So that's also where my passion is, and I think it will always be. But also, and now I get to the answer. When I would sell my company one day, then I think I still would like to have this beach house at the beach and have like a beautiful restaurant, but not cooking myself. I'm a bad chef. I make nice crisps, but I'm not cooking myself. But just enjoying more relaxing, I think. That will be when I will be 80 years, I think. But no, it's difficult. But I think it will be in agro-food. Yeah. I think I will not change that.
Makes sense. What are you doing when you're not working on winners?
When I'm not working on winners, I am doing some sports, playing squash. I also just like to walk. I like to travel still a lot. I also like to explore Netherlands a bit more when I'm home, because I realized that I was always traveling, but where I'm from is also a beautiful country. So I also like that. So, and I should play piano again. I didn't play it for 9 years. That's also what I want to do again. But mostly just sports and relaxing and spend time with friends, of course. I also like to spend time with other entrepreneurs to exchange challenges. But I also like to spend time with people who are not doing anything in entrepreneurship. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have co-founders. How would they describe you, or a co-founder? How would they describe in 3 words? And why each word?
I think that they will say that I am always very positive and optimistic. I always see a solution for everything, although everything is very challenging. They would also honestly say that I'm not always the best in reporting on time, but usually I'm always doing groundwork, so I always try to go everywhere. I always prefer to report to people who are directly helping me, and usually My co-founders, they're not active anymore. So they are now shareholders. And the third word, so that is, I think they will see me as a good leader, but not always as a very good CEO. I think that's what. But I don't know if they will say that. That's what I think. What they will say.
What's the difference?
I think a leader is someone who is able to really constantly focused on the vision of the company, on the strategy, how you want to move the company forward. Sometimes you notice even if people don't know, but just how you're talking, people feel it or understand it. The CEO is always focused on all the KPIs you agree with your shareholders and your team, and to always keep it in mind. And I do that actually. Of course, I know it by head what they're doing, but sometimes, because of my reporting on that part, that's a good. I think that's where I should improve a bit. But I still believe I have a very good CEO as well. I have a good management team, so they do a lot of I know where my weakness is, and I know that they are good in that. So I'm solving. So I think it's not a problem, and I think that the leadership, especially when you want to grow the company, is more important than being a good CEO. I think so, but I don't know.
All right. Thank you so much, Thijs. Thank you for the work you're doing, and also for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, and please buy some crisps.
Will do. You brought me some.
Already one.
Exactly.
Crisps, yeah.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Okay, thank you.